Brother Bob Carnegi from the Queensland's branch of the Joint Oceanic Region for Longshoremen Workers from Australia is here. And he's going to tell us about the struggles and the things that have been going on for workers in Australia.
Fellow workers, comrades, this is a really great opportunity for a person from Australia to be able to speak at this wonderful forum. When I was a young man, the United Auto Workers played a role in my development as a militant trade unionist. Just in this little part of, it's Lake Michigan, isn't it? Yeah? Yep. Is that my uncle traded on the Great Lakes, and he was a merchant seafarer during the Second World War, and he was deported in 1954 during the height of McCarthyism here for being an alleged communist or whatever he was, but in fact all he ever was just a militant left-wing trade unionist. So this part of the world has a special feeling for me and my family, and all those wonderful things that the United Auto Workers Union have stood up for over those all those many years ago. And when we look at history, it's only a blinking of an eye that workers were laying down their lives, in plants and in sit-ins, so that we could have some sort of enjoy some conditions that we have today. And those conditions, and this is one of the reasons as a sort of Labor leader, I guess myself, is that do we ever sit down when we're trading them off and think they're actually not ours to trade off? They were won by grandfathers and grandmothers and fathers and mothers, so they're not actually our conditions to trade off. The legacy we have is actually to win better conditions, not to give them away for those that have fought and sacrificed in blood so that we could have something, so that we could wash our hands, and so that we could have a lunchroom, and so that we could maybe be able to afford to put a roof over our head. But I probably digress. The main thing I want to talk about is internationalism, and I'll give you just a little bit of a rundown on what my union is. But just before I start that, I'd like to pay tribute to Steve Zeltzer here. He's Steve. Everyone knows Steve, don't they? Right. Steve's one of those men who you meet, working class activists you meet in your life, and your life's touched forever by them. And I'm 57 years of age and getting a bit long in the tooth sometimes, I think, and I just see the energy of Steve, and it just gives you further hope that the working class movement truly is an international one, and it truly is one that if we fight together we can win. But we have to fight together. Like, for example, I come from Australia. It's a long way away, the land done under, 24 million people in a land mass the same size as the continental United States. But it's not a land that's as happy as you see on the TV ads, and it's not a land where actually the kangaroos do jump down the street and shake you by the hand. It's actually quite a densely populated urban nation that has some of the most repressive labour laws in the Western developed world. And I'll just use mine I'm a bit of an extreme example, but in my working life, I've had 77 jobs, 77 different employers. I've been moved on. I've been arrested 29 times on picket lines. I've done 23 days in maximum security prison. I was choked senseless by 4 police. I got charged 8 of those 29 convictions of for serious assault on police charges, including one which in English law is called bodily harm, because the police officer broke his arm smashing me in the head over a bonnet of a car. and off to prison I went. But the last time I was in a bit of strife with I was actually on workers' compensation, and after having a back operation, and I was asked as a community leader to come and help a strike of construction workers that was falling apart because of injunctions. And so we got the strike back together. We had 650 men and women out on strike for 63 days. And I personally defied the injunctions 4 times. And when the strike was eventually won, the union, and I've had an ongoing war with union bureaucracies all my life, is that they settled the strike but didn't settle the legal problems. And so what happened out of that was that I ended up on 54 charges of criminal contempt, which is very serious because I was looking at doing between 2 and 7 years in jail and having my home confiscated. And my wife was really sort of rapt in this, that she thought it was just so wonderful. She said, if you get involved one more time in another picket line, Bob, and she's a great left-winger herself, she said, I'm going to drown you, right? This is just going too far, right? So anyway, after about 15 months through the courts, we eventually won the case. The company spent $2.5 million. They had 10 DVDs. They had 6 CDs of evidence, 1,500 pages, and the idiots put the wrong address of where I was picketing on. So they had to throw the case out. So there you go. Yeah. So they don't always win. But look, why internationalism is so strong and what I really want to talk about. And this is where we sometimes don't think enough about how vitally important internationalism is that an injury to a farm worker in Mexico today is an injury to an auto worker in Chicago tomorrow, and it's an injury to an Australian dock worker next week. And it's by us, and this is one of the things Steve has so very powerfully impressed upon me, is that we need to be able to communicate in such a way that we can actually do something concrete about what Driscolls are doing to decent working class people. And how do we do that? Well, we do it by communication. We do it by the sort of demonstrations that you wonderful comrades had yesterday. We do it by action on the job. And we can do it. We can. You know, for all the power of the Amazons and for all the power of the General Motors and the Fords and everything else, is that their supply chain is their critical point, and it's also their great weakness. Their great weakness is that supply chain. They run just-in-time delivery systems now. And my organisation, I'm a leader of the Maritime Union in Australia in Queensland, and I'm also the joint coordinator of the Oceania region of the International Dockworkers Council, is that we can be of great assistance. Absolutely. 90% of everything we wear, everything we drive, everything we carry comes across the docks on a 20-foot or 40-foot container. So it's a unique choke point within the world capitalist economy, and dock workers are uniquely placed to play a role in supporting you wonderful comrades in whatever battles you have. Because, and we're prepared to. And I'd just like to give you this very, look, I'm a bit eccentric, you probably see. I've got a tattoo on my arm. It says, true generosity towards the future consists of giving everything to the present. It's an Albert Camus quote. Instead of remembering it like any normal person, I went to a tattooist and got it tattooed on my arm, you know, so I wouldn't forget it. And that's another story. That was, you know, a bit of alcohol consuming, you know how it goes. Great idea at the time, went home. The wife wasn't real wrapped in the idea. So I got a tattoo of her name on this arm. So I thought that that'd get the heat off of this, but it didn't really work that way anyway, you know. But look, this is how it can work, and it's an interesting method. We have numerous battles every day in the docks. It's all, as an auto workers, shop steward would, as my dear comrade from the metal workers, farm workers, wherever we are, every day we're having battles on the job. We've been having a huge battle with one of the big terminal operators in Brisbane, where I live and operate out of. And every time we're fighting them, we're getting hauled before the courts, getting shackled, then we'd have to go back, think about what we can do again. And then one day we're out in the car park, 200 or so workers, and we're thinking about what can be the next move we can make against this company who was attacking our wages and conditions. And one of the workers came up, it's something simple. He said, why don't we just do something every day? We'll just think about it and do an action every day. And for the last 2 months we've been doing that, and it has absolutely sent one of the biggest terminal operators in the world insane, because they don't know what's going on. There's no pattern to it. It's not just like, we all go sick. We all go sick, we're hauled into courts. We all refuse to do overtime, we're hauled into courts. But if the workers say, look, 2 crane operators are sick, they've got to go home, we're going to slow down the rate a bit today, tomorrow's okay, we'll leave you alone. Through chaos is order, Through chaos you can bring some order onto the job, and that's what we found there. But what I would like to pledge, particularly from the IDC, and I'll finish up there, and I'm really sorry for taking up so much of your valuable time, comrades. Yeah. What the comedy, No, is that sometimes in the lowest ebb of the labour movement, and we're in a low ebb at the present time, okay? We've been bludgeoned by neoliberalism for the last 30 years, but we're still standing, right? We're still standing, we're still fighting, we're still getting together workers so that it's great to see so many young female working class people here today that are ready to get stuck into the fight to take it up, is that there's hope. There's a very famous guy from Chicago who died recently, Studs Terkel, and I think he wrote a book, something like called, While Hope Still Lives, hope still lives, so there's always that opportunity. And what I believe in, and I'm certainly sure we all do, is that what comes out of today and tomorrow is let's build links, okay? Let's see what we can do with an outfit like Driscoll. Well, let's see what we can do with a company that we should target, use the communication lines that Steve and his wonderful comrades are building up, use the great muscle of organisations such as Chris and the auto workers and my outfit and whatever, and let's go out and see what we can do and challenge the boss, okay? Excuse the adjective, my dad's nickname, he was something out of the box, right? He was a very eccentric character, but his nickname for 40 years as a militant seafarer on the Australian docks, his nickname was Fuck 'em, right? The boss said to him, could you do something? Len, he'd say, fuck 'em, He was something right out of the box, my dad, Yeah, you'd love him. Yeah, but the great thing, and I'll finish on this, and this is why I really believe so much in rank and file developing their own networks. We can, and please, of anything I say here today, please listen to this and at least think about it. You mightn't agree with it. Over the last 30 or 40 years, the problems that we've faced in the labour movement haven't always come from the employer. Okay? They've been the main ones, employers and governments without a doubt. But the strangulation that lots of working class people within the trade union movement have felt by their own bureaucracies have in some way, and has definitely enabled the boss to strangle us a lot faster. Because they've been too busy worried about how much of a pay rise I can get, how good my life can be, and forgetting about the man and the woman on the shop floor, which is the key to everything. Like, I was offered to fly business class to get here, right? Not from the IDC, but one of my people they said, you can't fly 22 hours, you know, and, you know, I've had 5 operations on my spine and all that sort of crap. And I said, I'll tell you what I'll do, is that I'll fly the same class that my membership fly, which is economy class. I'll stay in the same hotels that my membership stay in, which is normal, because who am I to be any step ahead? So all that sort of crap that goes on within the labour movement has to come to an end, okay? Really. So and the great thing about this outfit, the IDC, we represent 125,000 dock workers around the world. And you know how big the bureaucracy in the IDC is? Anyone want to have a guess? Okay. Someone. How many? 1.5. 1.5 people run an organisation that represents 125,000 people, because it's based on Spanish syndicalist lines, where there's one person who looks after the secretariat, and Jordi Aguande, who's our leading coordinator, he does half his time on the Barcelona docks and half his time with the IDC. So we keep the flat structures have to be flat, they have to be organic, they have to be able to get out there and be able to be mobilised. You cannot have them strangled by going up different chains and chains and chains of union officials before what you get in the answer is no. What we're going to say is we'll just have a flat structure and we'll say yes and get out there and fight and develop and build a better world, okay? So let's do that, and we start here. Great.